U.S. alone, agriculture, food, and other related industries contribute $1.3 trillion to U.S. gross domestic product. 22.2 million jobs are produced by food and agriculture in America, accounting for a total of 10% of our employment. With so many people and resources related to this field, it's important to understand the difficulties in ensuring that it is all ethical and sustainable. In my research, I will break down the micro, meso, and macro levels of sustainable agriculture, the issues, and possible solutions. Per the Sustainable Agriculture and Research Education Fund, they define sustainable agriculture as farming that supports farmers, communities, and resources by promoting farming practices that are profitable, environmentally sound, and good for the communities. On a macro level, we can look at the United States of America. Agriculture in America began to take a turn in the 1980s for more sustainable practices once environmentalists, farmers, and indigenous people worked together and started a farming renaissance. Farmers are demonstrating how older techniques should have been widely popularized all along. Due to harsh practices like chemical fertilizers, herbicides, antibiotics, and mistreatment of animals and people, farmers were forced to make a shift. They began ditching practices that were hurting the land and people and started composting, biological pest control, and using resistant crop varieties. They were also switching to more holistic ways of treating their animals. In addition, they switched to renewable energy sources. All of these practices are aimed towards minimizing the use of finite resources and enhancing the natural environment in ways that would produce healthier food in communities. This movement also included aspects of social justice, which can be considered conflict transformation, meaning by changing the way farmers were producing agriculture, a fundamental social structure, they began transforming conflict into peace. The agricultural product also needed to be able to sustain entire populations regardless of gender, class, race, or disability. Prior to the introduction of environmental justice activists and ecological feminists, many farmers were creating more harm than good, despite their intentions to help. There still is an unequal distribution of power between farmers, workers, consumers, and institutions, which has established pervasive hunger, poison workers, and continue the wage gap for women. Farming practices that are unsustainable and unethical create conditions that exploit human rights. Addressing these issues is key to continue sustainable agriculture, that we must work simultaneously to create ecological peace. A great example is the state of Hawaii, which I will break down in my meso level of analysis. The meso level of analysis focuses on conflict and violence between groups or regions. Hawaiians realized that in order to truly sustain a growing population, they had to grow food in a way that ensured the continuation of vital resources. In ancient practices, farmers created systems that worked in harmony with the land. Human contact with the earth compromised 15% of the land while meeting the needs of 100% of the people. This was a society where everyone contributed to the greater good of the community, thus benefited everyone. The archipelago of Hawaii was a unique biotic richness that allows for dozens of different life zones to thrive here. It is the single most ecosystem-rich location in the world. Due to the extremely high level of biodiversity, Hawaii was as close to possible to being a single unit, meaning it did not need aid or imports from other countries. This harmony with the land will be useful with the devastation of inevitable climate change. If we choose sustainable practices, we could prevent climate war, violent conflicts caused by disruptions in the availability of food, water, and other vital resources that could increase as the earth warms in the decades ahead. As many cultures are already facing similar challenges, we can prevent them on our own soil. An example to the rest of Hawaii and the United States is Kapapa Lo'i o Kanewai, a civil society organization dedicated to farming lo'i. I will be breaking down Kapapa Lo'i o Kanewai in my micro level of analysis. Lo'i is a wetland kalo patch. Kanewai is nestled between Dole Strait and the Aloha Towers at UH Manoa. Kanewai was originally created by Kane, the freshwater god, and his brother Kanaloa. Kane and Kanaloa were looking for fresh water after a day at the beach. Kane put his ear to the ground to listen for fresh water. When he hears it, he puts his o'o into the ground and created an auwai, or an irrigation ditch, which eventually created Kanewai Lo'i. However, after UH Manoa was built, it was neglected and used as a dump site for many decades, until 4 UH students were hanging out and found the auwai Kane made centuries before. They worked with the community and other students to restore Kanewai to its once productive state. Now Kanewai serves the community as a piko, or point of Hawaiian knowledge, history, and olelo. This place is for everyone who has an open heart and mind, that is. Kapapa Lo'i o Kanewai now has 13 kalo patches which yield plenty of food for the workers and community. They lead groups and teach those who come about the sustainability of the Hawaiian culture through their most precious agriculture practice, kalo farming.
It is a lo'i, which is like where wetland taro grows, compared to a mala, which is where dryland taro grows. It is for educational purposes. It is how should I say, a center for Hawaiian studies, especially through working and learning over there, an environment. So it is right. So there's Hawaiian studies, the Nui Kea, the buildings right there where all the Hawaiian classes, and then there's Kapapalo'i o Kanewai, which is the lo'i, you know. That place would be the center of Hawaiian studies because everything done over there, from the work, from the kumus going down there, from the things taught, the groups visiting, it all centers around Hawaiian studies, education, and everything. And is a true example of what an Aina education is. Because back then, in ancient Hawaiian days, they never had like classrooms, they never had like top buildings or all that, they had places like this. And for me,
So one of the three kahu or pillars, the laws of Kanewai, is pu'uhonua, which means a place of safety, a place of peace or refuge, and that is in a sense for the greater community, for everybody.
mhm. So as most Hawaiians, we learn our slogan, Malama Aina, or some people say Malama da Aina, which means take care of the land that takes care of you. So like all of our practices over there, we're not just taking from the land, we also give back. So whatever we harvest, we plant. So example would be our kalo. Our kalo, as we all know, is used for many reasons. It is an ancient Hawaiian plant, um, from like thousands of years, many generations it comes from. One of the most sustainable plants in the world. It took a big hit because, we really rely on groups to help us, with our place. I mean, there's only like a limit to amount of people we can hire, like 9 to 10. But in reality, we probably need like, like if we were to manage it like solidly every day, it'll take, you know, maybe 30 to 50 people, I would say, because the places are so huge. It's not just managing Kanewai, but also managing Punalu'u as well, which is our other